going on, y'all? This is FutureDDS back with another podcast. It's Nick Tyler Terrell here. Today, we are actually going to tackle the topic of work-life balance. So, everyone knows, talk about the grind of dental school, of course, definitely talking about how many hours you spend in the classroom, how many hours you spend in the lab, not really getting the life outside of school, especially during those crazy test blocks. But we want to tackle, the question of how much work is actually too much work. When do you have to start, you know, kind of stepping away and avoiding that dreaded word of burnout or that feeling of being burnt out and kind of overwhelmed by the work around you. So again, Nick Tyler Terrell here. I guess I'll start, man. So one of the biggest issues with dental school definitely is the workload, or I say the biggest issues in transitioning into dental school is the workload. So a lot of times people come from undergrad, people come from master's programs, people might just be coming from a non-traditional student perspective where they're working a regular 9 to 5 and they get that I'm off at 5 o'clock, I can go spend time with the family, I can go work on my hobbies, do these other things. And then they get into that dental school mode where it's literally class from probably you're getting up at 7:30, getting to school probably around 8:30, starting classes at 9, and you're in class or lab until 9 to 5, and that's just schoolwork, classwork. Now, after that, most likely you have projects to do, you got a test coming up, you have a deadline, you got some type of competency coming up, where you're gonna have to spend at least 3 or 4 more hours doing some more work in dental school just to make sure you're being successful. So it's definitely a balance, but I think it's an important topic to talk about and definitely give some perspective of how we handled it in dental school, some perspective on how Nick should start thinking about how he'll handle it and start putting systems in place to make sure he's handling it correctly in dental school. And then also, just kind of how we're handling it now being in the field of practice where we do kind of fall back into that 9 to 5 feel, but also wanting to do more, wanting to do things like on practice, take CEs, do businesses outside of school, and of course, have a life and do hobbies as well. How we manage that time and how we go about doing that. So, I think one of the biggest things that Tyler and myself have kind of tried to stress through starting Future DDS in school, still trying to do things and enjoy hobbies and start businesses and other things outside of just Future DDS as well. One of the biggest things that we have to do is one, make sure you're getting your rest, get up early, and two, create systems that work for you. Okay. Like that is so crucial. Coming up with a plan, that's like learning how you study best, learning when you work out best, learning when you get the best work done, kind of tailoring your lifestyle and your schedule around that. All right. So for instance, Tyler, early bird, Tyler would be up at the height of dental school, Tyler might get up at 4 o'clock, get stretch, meditation, reading, gym, whatever in. Me on the other hand, I might be up till 3 o'clock, doing the same similar things. But at the end of the day, both of us made it to the finish line, generally sane and definitely, came out successful on the other end in terms of getting the degree and being successful in dental school. So I think that's really big. Some of the things that I tried to do was try to set limits or understand, start listening to your body, feeling when you need to just put something down, maybe come back to it, even when time doesn't seem like it's necessarily working on your side. So, I'll give Tyler an opportunity just to kind of speak on our dental school experience a little bit, and then Nick we'll have Nick talk about how he's been handling work-life balance in undergrad and maybe some things he'll have to transition to once he gets to dental school.
Yeah, no, so like Terrell said, I mean, I think it's really important just to figure out how you do things, and accepting that that's going to be an everlasting uh evolution of you, right? So basically what I mean by that is there will be certain times when we would both be waking up early. Then there would be times when Terrell didn't have to wake up early and I kept waking up early, or there'll be some times when I didn't get to have that hour of wind down time. I wasn't able to watch the movie. There were some times when I was grinding. I was really locked into my books because I had to be for whatever reason, right? So I do think that sometimes when we make these schedules or these routines or we think about our work life balance, we try to make a finite decision in things. But what I've learned, especially as I've gotten into the real world and like different responsibilities, or my responsibilities have changed in certain aspects, I'm recognizing that you have to make you have to recognize what works best for you at the time, at the season, or in the season that you're in it. Um, because now my routine is completely different compared to what it was in dental school. Of course, there are some things that have to stay the same. I do believe that you should get your rest. And I definitely try to prioritize that 7 hours. Does it always happen? Absolutely not. But if there was anything for me to put on a standard type of locked amount of time, I would try to just do rest. But it's interesting. Even this week, this is my first week trying to work out in the afternoon. I just wanted to give myself a little bit more time for deep work in the morning before I went to work. Um, just because I felt like my mind will be sharp when I wake up, and whenever I would try to do deep work in the afternoon after work, I would be so mentally exhausted. So I said, you know what, let me do it in the beginning of the day, and then I'll just kind of go through my workout at night. But when I tell you I didn't work out at all this week in the afternoon, I literally was just like, yo, I am exhausted, and I would try to even go to the gym and would not work out. So through that trial and error and just kind of breaking my typical schedule for a little bit, I almost reaffirmed myself in the fact of like, oh no, Tyler, you have to work out in the morning, or your health, that's not going to get done. It's interesting because there's a lot of people who like make these charts about like what ranks more important. Is it your relationships? Is it your health? Is it what is it? Relationships, health, or money? I guess wealth, right? Um, and I don't know about the correct order, but I will tell you, if you're unhealthy, everything kind of goes to you know I can't say the word, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, no, definitely I just got to prioritize the health, and I'm just going through that now, learning that, especially with working these 12-hour days. um yeah, just trying to figure out everything. So yeah, that was a tangent, but yeah.
So,
Nah,
so
What
actually, I was going to build on what you said, Tyler, with when you were talking about health, because I actually 100% agree with that. I think, and I read this reading Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans, right? And he was talking about how
great book.
right? So he was talking about, Terrell, tell me if you remember this, when he was talking about making health is number one priority. It's not about making it your priority 5 days out of the week and then neglecting it 2 days of the week. So, for example, if you know there's a party going on tonight and you're going to be drinking, whatever, stay up late, and you can't you don't have enough time to recover in the morning because you have a meeting at 8 o'clock or whatever, then he would just wouldn't go out. It doesn't matter what it's for. He just, since health truly was number one for him, he would sacrifice whatever it was that was going on that night to stay home and rest and prepare for the next day. So, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, but like, that when you're like in the best shape of your life, like we all remember, like there's some point where we've been in the best shape of our life just feels better. Like,
Absolutely.
you feel
Yep.
happy. It doesn't even matter what's going on, but the fact that you were so healthy and so fit at that time, like it just made all your other problems a lot easier. So I
Yeah.
would say like physical health and mental health, that being said, right? So yeah, so like when I was a student, luckily I'm in a gap year, but when I was a student, I realized that finding that work life balance was kind of weird, because like sometimes my mentality was, well, this is the stuff that I need to do well on to become a dentist. So it didn't really feel like work back then. So it was like this stuff is going to help me for the DAT, it's going to help me to get into schools. So it's like I didn't feel like it was work, so I was able to keep going at it, whatever, it was fine. But once I applied to dental school and had this last quarter at Davis, that's when it became like a thing for me, this whole work life balance, because I was kind of lacking a why in that sense. Because I applied to
Yeah.
schools. I didn't really need to get the best grades ever. I could have coasted by with like B's, for example, right? But like the fact that I just didn't have that motivation, that why behind it, just made it so much more difficult. So I think, if you're doing things with a purpose, finding that work-life balance is so much easier because everything has a meaning for you. But when it doesn't, then, you have to realize if it's taking a toll on the quality of your life, then nothing's worth it. No amount of money, no amount of success is worth like your health, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was those two things that kind of helped me, was knowing my reasoning behind doing something, and that's why, like, I think once I go to dental school, I'm not sure it'll be that as difficult in terms of like keeping up, because it's like I want to be the best provider possible for my patients, like if I don't feel confident, like I know that's just gonna like permeate through the rest of the room, and I won't be able to like have the interpersonal skills that are necessary if I don't feel confident behind my hand skills, for example. So it's like I just know, like, once down school comes, I'll have that why again, and like I'll be locked in, focused, trying to be the best provider possible. And then what was it? The health. Yeah. Health, I think, is obvious, but we take it for granted sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like, really, have you ever think about the last time you really tried to do something and you were just tired, you were just sleepy, you just don't, you might as well just not even try to do it. You might as well just go to sleep, get your rest, like, because you're gonna have it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you might as well just really lock in and just get some type of, I don't know, schedule around your sleep. What I've actually recently bought, I bought one of those lamps that like wakes me up to like sunlight, right? Because I do wake up so early. So it's like I'll be sleeping and then I'll hear like birds chirping and flutes. And then there was like this super bright light just starts to illuminate my room. And that's been amazing. Just to kind of like keep myself from feeling that sense of like stress right when I wake up from that alarm that we've all grown up to recognize as stress, right?
Yep.
And so like even that, I think I want to like start wearing the what is it, the Aura ring? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like the Whoop. It's literally just like a little.
Yeah.
And just to start tracking my sleep, bro, because I'm like that is everything. And even getting a step deeper, I think I'm gonna start to really like tap into like sleep apnea. A couple of my family members have sleep apnea, and I've seen like the toll that it's taken on their body. And I'm like, okay, let me do a deeper dive on this, because I think that's also an untapped or underserviced population within like the dental realm, right? Whereas a lot of people have these systemic issues because they're not getting enough rest. And here we are able to solve their issues, but not enough dentists have been educated on the topic. So I've been thinking about that a lot recently.
Well, Tyler, so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna start like taping your mouth when you go to bed? Have you
Oh no, I've seen that though. Yeah, I've seen that. So you only breathe through your nose.
Yeah.
No, not that. But I think just kind of like really tracking everything, right? Like nothing can grow if you don't measure it. And I think it honestly starts with me getting a consistent 7.5 or 7 hours of sleep. Like, let me start there and make that my number one priority and see how I feel. Because everybody who's a pre-dent, what you will also recognize is when you are tired, you are not as good as a provider. And I'm not even talking about hand skills, but even the way you come off to your patients. Your patients can tell when you're exhausted. They can tell, like I'm telling you. And once you have that feeling one good time, once you get that feeling one good time where maybe you didn't drink when you went out with your friends, but you were just out or just up a little bit too late, and you go into the practice and you're talking to your patient and you're just not all the way there as far as like your energy level, that alone will kind of wake you up to say, never again.
Something's got to change.
Something's got to change, because it is not. And I think a lot of young docs go through that too, especially if you're coming back and you're living in the city. I mean, I know I went through it. I tried to see everybody every night. Oh yeah, I'm back in the city, y'all. Let's go get food. Let's go get dinner. And then I would get to sleep at like 1:30 or 2, have to wake up at 5, and I would just be exhausted. And I was just like, I cannot do this anymore, So so I think everybody goes through that.
No, without a doubt, man. I think like these are all things, like, just definitely speaking to the sleep tracking. I think since really focused in on wearing the whoop all the time, making sure it's charged, and really taking faculty of it, like you can you can definitely tell. Like if you go in there, it'll track like your recovery based on how much sleep you get, how much
Mhm.
restful sleep, like true sleep you get, deep sleep, and you like I can literally pinpoint the days I felt terrible waking up and look at my whoop and be like, what was my recovery yesterday? And it'll be in the red. It'll be like 36%. You know, whether I went out or not, it could be like you went to the gym and just went real hard the day before and like you just stayed up doing some work, not even going out, but you just didn't get the same like that good restful sleep that you needed for your body to recover and your brain to reset and all of those things that like you really need to happen. Like your body will feel sluggish because you didn't get enough sleep, but like you don't necessarily think about it in terms of you going to work at 8 o'clock, by 1 o'clock, you're like, I'm burnt. I'm feeling burnt right
Yeah.
now, like especially if you get something
Yeah.
for lunch, like you're like, I need a nap. Like I really want a nap.
Yeah.
So, there's little things like that, man. I think a common theme, obviously from like everything that we've been speaking about so far has been just being adaptable, man. So work life balance, I think the biggest thing is adapting, man, and just doing a lot of research in terms of some of the I guess high efficiency people in terms of whether they're wealthy, whether they're just hot in the top of their field. The main things that they do are get sleep and focus on the big things first. So, like you said, maybe shifting that workout to the afternoon and making sure you get enough rest so you can get into at least start the workout at a high point so that, once you start working out, you'll be fine. But at least
Mhm.
get to the point where you can get to the workout and feel good and start your wind down a little bit earlier so that you're more efficient throughout the day actually doing things. Um, I think another thing that we talked about was, making sure that if you do have a lot of stuff on your schedule at that time, making sure that you're adaptable. Like you got to say no. Like that was something we had to like as much as we didn't want to, even in our master's program, we didn't have to say no as much. But in dental school, you had to say no. Like your
Yeah.
friends are out of school, they're working, they're making money, they're going on trips. If you're in the same city, they're going to dinner, they're getting the section, they're doing all these things, and you just have to be like, I have a test on Monday. You won't see me for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. Like you're just not going to see me. I might not even be able to call you as much as I want to because by the time I'm done my work, it's gonna be 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Like,
Mhm.
like and being able to prioritize and be adaptable. So if your family's important to you, making sure you're calling them in the morning when you got high energy, or making sure you're calling them in the gaps when you're studying, different things like that. And that'll put a lot less stress on your mind because at the end of the day, you'll say, okay, I knocked out these top 5 to 7 things that I knew I wanted to or needed to get done, so I can sleep, rest well. And then on top of that, like you see behind me, like one of the big things is also mental health, like Nick said, just meditating, whether it's meditation, whether it's like Kyle said, looking at that podcast at the end of the day, watching that show that you binge, getting the episode in, whatever it is, be able to put the work down, step away from it, get the rest. If that's going out, spending time with your family, whatever it is, step away from it so that you can feel refreshed and fulfilled by doing the work. Because doing all the work and not being able to enjoy it or feeling like you're changing or not being your truest self is also just as bad as being able to be successful and getting all that stuff done. And but being burnt out at the end of the day or not feeling, losing your health for it. So I think these are all really good aspects to think about in terms of doing that. Some advice I would definitely say to you, Nick, is start setting that sleep schedule now. Like Kyle said, start setting it now because especially not having to do anything right now, you can easily get into that habit of like, well, I'll be up till 2 because I don't really have to get up tomorrow morning. And even if you're naturally getting up at 8, like it's a lot different when you can get up at 8 and just like make breakfast, chill, go out to the coffee shop, do whatever, versus having to get up and hit it hard. Like I got 4 more lectures to hit. You know what I'm saying? Like I got 4 lectures to hit on top of class, clinic, whatever, lab, all this other stuff. So start getting into the habit now, um, of learning your sleep schedule, really understanding what your priorities are so you know what will be the first things that you may have to put down when it comes to that time. Um, and then really just yeah, like man, just start focusing in on mastering the little things now that will make a big difference in the future. I think those are the biggest things that have translated from pre-dent to dental school to now even being in practice. Just to maintain that efficiency. Um, But yeah, man, I think that was a really good talk or perspective on work-life balance, keeping the main things, and being adaptable. So to make sure we're hitting those main things and making progress on the things we want to make progress on in an efficient way. Um, I think, like I said, if you guys have any questions for us, any suggestions, tips, things that you use to help you track your sleep, remain efficient, obviously, different things in terms of journaling or just us planners, different things like that that help you stay on track and keep that work-life balance up to par. Definitely let us know, add it down to the comments, hit us up. We can obviously have conversation, open dialogue about that. You guys have anything else for the audience today?
Nah,
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah,
get your
definitely.
rest.
Get your rest. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back next week with another episode of the FutureDDS Podcast. For Tyler, Nick, Terrell, we're out. See you guys next week.
See y'all.
Yeah.